2 minutes left. A person who is in heaven and who you love very much asks you to open this urgently. The moon trembled behind torn clouds as if it too feared what had awakened in the hidden folds of time. You stood alone in a field where no grass grew, where the air pulsed with the cries of 1,000 clocks striking midnight all at once. Their hands twisted and broke in unnatural angles, falling like dying birds to the soil that remembered everything you had forgotten. You were not summoned gently. The force that reached for you moved through the marrow of your bones like a memory not yours, but borrowed from something holy and long buried. It tore through comfort and illusion and dragged you here, to the outskirts of the eternal tower, now ruined and leaking shadow through its once sacred windows. The door had no hinges. It opened because your soul was the key. You stepped inside and smelled iron, fire, and the ghost of incense long since scattered. The walls cried out with the names of the almost damned, and in their whispers was yours, spoken not in accusation but in warning. Your heartbeat mirrored something larger, something ancient, something divine. Archangel Michael says your name is still written in flame, though flickering, though close to fading. You do not yet understand why this matters. But the tower is collapsing not because of time, but because of judgment being delayed too long. On the 3rd floor, glass rained upward. Inside a spiral of torn scripture, a throne cracked in half, bleeding silver light onto the stone. A form stood beside it. Not quite a man. Not quite a memory. And yet you knew them, the eyes that used to call you home, the smile that once forgave you before you asked. They spoke without a voice, and it filled your bones with ache. Open this. You looked down, and it was in your hands already. A parchment soaked in heavenly oil, sealed with the mark of the eternal. But the wax was melting, dripping black instead of red. Behind you, something massive was climbing the walls, limbs scraping, breath hissing in a forgotten tongue. You would not have time to read it all. But you broke the seal anyway. The air tore open. You were pulled through the text as if through a wound in reality. Faces you had once known flickered in fire around you, some smiling, others weeping, one screaming endlessly as if they never stopped dying. The text didn't read itself to you. It unfolded you. Pulled you apart. Showed you to yourself in the language of angels, which can only be understood in suffering. God says this moment is not your punishment, it is your choice manifesting in real time. You are not bound by chains but by the parts of yourself you pretend not to be. The person who called you here, they wait. They are not angry. But their eyes carry sorrow that exists only in heaven, where love remembers everything, even the silences. They hold out their hand, and it trembles. You feel it then. The time that was promised is closing like wings around a dying star. 2 minutes left is not metaphor. It is divine truth. The soul has only that long before the seal closes again. And if it closes with you still asleep, the gates you want will not recognize your face. A chime splits the air. The tower groans. And your beloved in heaven whispers into the storm, as the tower's foundation begins to shatter, please, before it's too late. The parchment burns in your hand. The sky buckled above you as if heaven itself held its breath, and the tower's burning parchment dissolved into smoke that carved symbols into the air. You were falling, not through space, but through knowing, each second a deeper descent into what was hidden, denied, veiled in mercy. You landed not with force, but with recognition. The place where you stood now was your own heart, stripped of its defenses, flooded with every consequence you tried not to see. There was a gate, towering, rusted, living. It pulsed like a wound, its hinges whispering secrets you only half remembered. The gate did not open with effort, but with surrender. And as it yawned wide, the one who waited on the other side stepped forward with a light around them no shadow could pierce. They were beautiful in the way only heaven allows, unaged by time, unmarred by earthly failure, glowing with the grace of one who had endured and overcome. They were the one you had loved and lost. But they were not smiling. Their robe was torn at the chest where a wound still leaked light. It pulsed with truth. It pulsed with betrayal. They held out both hands, and between them hovered the moment you had buried so deeply it took an angel's cry to unearth it. You looked into the wound and saw yourself, not your outer image, but the act that shattered their trust. Not a grand betrayal, but a small, quiet severing of faith. The kind that heaven counts and remembers. God says you cannot outrun the seeds you plant in silence. Every whisper, every omission, every smile worn like armor, none of it dissolves in time. It is recorded. And now, it plays before the gate of reckoning. You spoke once of love, of eternity, of loyalty. But in your desperation, you aligned with something unclean. A small compromise. A moment of selfishness. A choice that seemed justified by circumstance. And it broke something sacred. The person you loved remembers not to punish you, but because they loved you enough to feel it echo through eternity. The gatekeeper is no angel. It is the betrayal itself, shaped like your voice, wearing your face, twisting your promises into poison. It mocks you with your own words. It welcomes you with your own cowardice. And it will not let you pass. Archangel Michael says this gate cannot be unlocked from the outside. You must walk through it with your own guilt wrapped like a crown around your head. This is the path of restoration. This is the cost of divine return. Your beloved approaches the gate with you. They do not plead for your absolution. They weep for the time lost to your delay. Time in which you could have healed. Time in which you could have chosen light. But they have waited. Because love in heaven does not expire, it only transforms into ache until it is fulfilled. The betrayer smiles wider. The gate shudders. A great bell tolls in the clouds above, each peal pressing down on your shoulders with a weight forged from truth. You feel it then, this is not a test. It is a confrontation. You must face what you did, not in shame, but in honesty so raw it might undo you. The wound in your beloved's chest glows brighter. And in that light, you see the moment you left them behind, not with your feet, but with your silence. They had reached for you. You had turned inward. And something divine had broken. Your knees touched sacred ground. Not out of reverence, but because the weight of truth has made standing impossible. The gate begins to creak open, but only because you choose not to run this time. Your breath becomes prayer. Not words, but the act of staying. The betrayer fades. And behind the gate, a field of stars sways in silence. You step through the gate, and the stars bowed in silence, folding themselves into a stillness that breathed. But the path did not lead upward, it curled downward into the roots of time, where the water waited. A lake stretched before you like glass forged from divine sorrow, perfectly still, so smooth it reflected not your image, but your soul's record.